Welcome back. Last couple videos, we set up the form fields in this PDF form and got it all completed out. Everything's in the order it should be. So the time has come for us to tag the document. So first of all, we want to auto tag it. So to do that, as we did in the basic videos, we're going to click the Accessibility tab. There's a couple of ways that we can auto tag a document. We can either go into our tags panel, click Add Tags to Document on top of that icon, or we can just auto tag document in the Accessibility toolbar here. I'm doing that. You'll get this report. And it's not really important for what we're doing, so you don't have to worry about it. It's you note under the Accessibility Recognition Report. We're going to go down here to Tags. And of course, it doesn't show us the tags at first. We close our arrow, reopen it, and there we go. We've got tags in our document. So our first thing there is a figure, paragraph, and so on and so forth. One thing I like to do, particularly if it's a document that is more than a single page, is I like to split the tags for the separate pages into their own individual organization tags. It keeps things a little cleaner, particularly with a longer document. You can close up a section tag relating to a single page of tags, for example, and have the second one open and not have a giant list to scroll through or get lost in. So there's a few different tags. There's a couple different tags that serve that purpose. One is this part tag we've got going on here. You can use those. I like the sect tag, section tag, because it doesn't look like the other tags. It doesn't have the same visual icon here. So I'm going to create a few of those. Let's see how many pages we've got here. I believe it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4 pages. So I'm going to make 4 section tags. New tag section. New tag section. And a lot of times, if you've worked in this before, when you're under something, like say I was under figure or something and I was creating a section tag, your instinct is to go under tags and do new section tag. But if you do, it drops it at the bottom anyway. That's why I just went to the bottom and made them, because I can grab them exactly like this and pull them up. That's a little bit weird because in directory structures, you're usually just able to drop new tags wherever you want right underneath. Sec tags don't do that for whatever reason. But you notice here that the icon is different. That's why I like them, because they look different, so they'll stand out to you in the directory structure as you start working through the tags. So first of all, let's find our tags for page 1. So list, that's included, and it goes a little further. I'm going to break up the stuff in these part tags. Part tags are basically the same sort of thing as a section tag. A lot of times the system will auto-generate those, trying to do its own sort of organization of the document to the best of its ability. And a lot of times it may get it right and it may not. In this case, it's going down on another page, which I really don't want it to do. So I'm going to grab the stuff in the part tag and pull it out, delete out the part tag, and let's see where this stops here. We've got the list. Okay. Our next part tag has items that go across the 2 pages. So I'm going to open it up. And that's the rest of that page right there. Pull those 3 items out of the part tag. And now I'm going to grab all of those items right there, comprise the first page. And I'm going to drop them in the first section tag, like so. Close it up. Now we're looking at page 2's tags. Starts with a table. Note that the job, duties, and work schedule isn't highlighting. It may be part of the tag we just dropped. If it's not, we can find it. Click reading order, and it doesn't look like it's actually tagged at all. So let's see if we can make a tag for it here, because we do want that. That could be, looks like it's an H2, because I would assign this an H1. So this subhead here would be H2, H2. It's pretty consistent with what I'm probably going to call an H2, so I'm going to make it a heading 2. It incorporated it in the table, which is okay. Doesn't really need to be. And it's probably, there it is. Incorporated it in row 1 of the table there. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab that while it's isolated and move it under here. Oops, it dropped it a little bit. I want it subset. There we go. Close that table back up. And let's see where our next page ends here. That's set. Looks like it'll be right there. Note that it did not pick up the revised tag. And you could probably tag that if you really wanted to. I'm not going to for this document though. This is page 2. That should be all of that. So let's go put it under the H2 here. That's our second page. So now we've got page 1, page 2, and we're going to move on to page 3. Note that again, it did not tag this, and we do want it. That's another H2. Okay, and that time it didn't have a table to drop it in, so it's already there. We'll go down and look at the bottom here and see where it's going to cut off. That goes over to the next page. Going to grab all this. So make sure nothing crosses over. Nope, it's good. That's going to be our page 3. Close it up. And everything remaining is page 4. Policy and procedures. Same thing, heading 2. Dropped it in the table, so it's probably in, yep, table row 1, which isn't where it should be. We'll drop it here. Close the table back up. And move the table there. So now we got 2 other part tags here. It's trying to partition out the signature section and then the copy underneath it is what it's trying to do. So I'm going to grab these, move them up here. And I'm going to grab these and move them up as well. Delete out those parts. And that's page 4. So now we have our pages lined up, all in their own section tags, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So now that we've got our pages organized in this way, we are going to go page by page through the tags to organize the document up. We have a figure. That is our Wichita State University letterhead. You can do some stuff with tags without the reading order tab open, and the pages tend to move a little freer that way. I tend to keep the reading order thing open all the time because you'll notice that the numbers disappear. Like it's going to highlight things. But with the reading order tool open, you've actually got the identification numbers, which will give you the order that you're working with. So Figure, no. Okay, so that's a Wichita State University letterhead. If you wanted, you could background artifact that. I usually won't with the letterhead because it's Wichita State, right? So right click, edit alternate text, and we're going to call this Wichita State University letterhead. Okay. Takes care of that. Just like those other headings, this one hasn't been tagged as well. So I'm going to go ahead and tag this. This is basically the title of the document, Employee Remote Work Arrangement. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit heading 1. There we go. That's taken care of. Now, as you're watching this, you might notice that I sort of perch this off the screen sometimes, and that's to give me enough room to see the page. I'm doing this on a MacBook Air, so I don't have a big dual screen setup or a giant widescreen going on. So I sort of have to keep my screen space to a premium the best I can. So that's why a lot of times I will take this and I'll perch it off. On a bigger screen, you can run the page far smaller and still be able to see it while leaving more of this available on the screen. So if you're wondering why I sort of have part of this sticking off the screen, that's why. It's not something you have to do. So we got this H1 in the figure. We probably want the figure with its alt text to occur before the title. There we go. And note that it still says 1, 2, 3. So that's something we'll have to correct when we get to the reading order section. But that's not right now. 3 is a standard paragraph. Looks good. Next is a list. And the list begins with 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got a list of 4 items, and we've got some of our items in here. We can maintain this as a list if we want. A list has a more complicated tag structure, as you can see here. You have the list label and the list body. The label will be the number 1. If this was, say, a bulleted list, the bullet would be the label, the little dot or dash or whatever it uses. And the list body will be the text that comes after. You can also do lists that don't have list labels, as we did in previous training videos where we simply had it as a list body item without the label. That's fine as well. What adds a level of complication to this list is that it actually has form field items in it. You can do the list and add the form fields as you go. There is a caveat to that, though. If you do that list like that and you subset all of those different form field items, if you have to change anything when you get to the reading order side of things over there, it can cause havoc when you come back to tags. You can have a perfectly subset list or table, find that something needs changed in the reading order for that list or that table, change it up in the reading order, and when you come back over to the tags, it will grab items that you moved around and basically take them out of the descending level of the structure, list or table. And so a lot of times you end up basically having to rebuild the list or table. So to get around that, it does have a number 1 dot, in that you could do these simply as a series of paragraph text instead of a list, which would avoid that potential issue. They're already labeled, so it's perfectly all right to do that if you want. It's going to tell the user, number 1 period, is this request for all, number 2 period, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do, I think. To keep things simple, I'm going to open up my reading tool here, and I'm going to grab this whole bit here, including the number, And I'm going to select tag paragraph. Before I do that, note that in this one chunk of text here, it also includes the yes, the no, and the line underneath. And of course, those items should all be separate anyway. So we're going to be chopping up a block of text as we work through this, sort of like chipping a big piece of ice into separate ice cubes. Okay. And we could continue to go down the same way, or we can go ahead and start isolating out these other words. Text paragraph for yes, text paragraph for no in the asterisk, and this one should have been separated just from the act of doing it. Okay, so in our list here, there's our first paragraph. We can open it up and see, yep, it includes the one. And so I'm going to grab this paragraph and place it under the previous paragraph right there. And we want to follow it with the yes or no in the form fields. Now, this probably looks like a bunch of junk to you, but we can clean this up pretty easily as we go down. So what we've got here is you'll notice that when I grab the yes and the no, and this by itself, that the lines under the form fields became independent paragraph items of their own. Here's one of them right here. You can see it's highlighting it there, and it's here in the tag. So we're going to right click on that, and we're going to change it to artifact. I like to do that with basically anything that's an underline, because screen readers might read that underline to the user and basically say underline, underline, or dash, dash, or something like that. And that's just kind of a waste of time. So you can just eliminate it like that, and it's not going to be any problem for you. Delete the tag. Here's our yes. We'll move the yes under here. And just to monitor where we are in the structure, I'll do it like this. There's our no with an asterisk. Grab that, move it under the yes. And if I open these up, there's a line. Change to artifact. There's the if no line that's underneath. And that needs to be altered to be paragraph text instead. And we'll drop that under where the no is. Okay, so you notice how when I artifacted the lines, this all got a lot neater in the tag structure, which is what we wanted it to do. Okay, so now we have to apply the form fields. And we should have those down here somewhere. Sometimes you have to hunt around. Find where it decided to put them. And they're not playing extremely fair. So what we're going to do is, we know that this is one of them. And sometimes it will give you the option to show the item. Show reading order panel. It's not doing it in this case. So I'm going to click here. We know that those two are in the tag structure for the first page. So that much is clear. So we're going to scroll down until it highlights those items. Here we go. We know that they're in this list section. There's one of them, or both of them even. Yep. So note how it's sort of, the structure is all kind of a mess, and you have to sort of sometimes wade through the system to find where these items have decided basically to hide themselves. We're going to move the form field under yes here, and then we're going to go under no. We're going to click new tag, and we're going to pick form. Okay. And I'm going to grab the second one that corresponds with no. We're going to drop it there. So now we've got paragraph First line, paragraph yes, form, there's the yes box to be selected. Next one is no, the form field, the no to be selected, and the following line. That's all good. So that's our first one all taken care of there. So we're going to be sort of destroying this entire list thing as we go through here. Our next one is number 2. And it looks like we don't have a lead in, so let's see what we've got here. Number 2, new request, modification to existing request extension. Okay, so we really don't need to have the lead in there. The thing is we wrote pretty specific tooltips that are going to indicate to the user that basically they need to pick the right answer and such. So we can isolate these 3 bits of text. We can isolate the 2 as text and build the form fields under these 3 different questions. So I'm going to switch that to paragraph. And I'm going to pull it out, drop it here. And now we've got to split out our words. I'm going to select new request, make it paragraph. And I am going to actually select modification of these. When I do these, it's going to isolate the lines. That's why I do this instead of say, grab the middle one and isolate as paragraph and split these 2 out, because these 2 are still going to have the lines connected, and I don't want the underlines. Okay, and I'm going to grab extension to previous request and make that a piece too. Okay, so now we've got first request. I'm going to close the 2, drop that here. I'm going to reopen the 2, so I still have orientation to know where I am here. Next one is modification to existing, and here's our last one. There's our options, and we can open those up. Now we need to find our form fields. There's our first one, it's hiding in there. Got a line, change tag to artifact. Here's a line, artifact, line, artifact. These 3 are done. We're going to delete out that list item tag with its subsets by. And here we go with forms. Okay, so here's our first form, and it is for new request. So let's move it in its spot. Okay. There's 3. So we need to go search a little bit to find our next 2 form fields. There they are. See, they're even under the 3, and 3 is the next thing. But for some reason, when I cut everything up, it's selected them and moved them around. It's common. And it looks like we've got 2 of them in one. Yes, we do. And we have one that doesn't even belong to it. We'll be sorting this all out as we go. Okay, so let's grab our form here. And we're going to drop it under modification to existing. There we go. And this one should be the 3rd. It is. Okay, extension to previous. New tag, form, and drop that right under there. And we still have this oddball extra that actually goes to a lower thing, but we will deal with that as we go. Okay. Basically, right now we have our form set up good. Let's close some of these tags up. We don't need the 2 open. We don't need new request is done. Modification to existing still needs to have that last one taken out. And that one's done. Okay. Let's close that up. And now we're going to move down to Number 3, and that one does have a line and 2 options. So I'm going to grab this like this. Text paragraph. We want temporary as text paragraph, and we want permanent as text paragraph. There we go. There's our number 3. And that would actually go under here. Goes under the last option of the previous question. Like so. This is temporary. It goes under here. And this is permanent. It goes under here. Let's open those up a bit. Okay. So we know this is one of these. This is the temporary. So we're going to go into temporary here, select it, new tag, form, and we're going to grab that. There we go. Move it in space. Okay, that takes care of temporary. Form, request, that one's good. And we've got permanent here. So let's see where its form ran off to. Looks like it's in here. There's a line. We can change that to artifact. Another line that can be an artifact. And that should take out that entire list item. Delete that. We got the next one. And we're hunting for the one for permanent. See, it dropped it even further. It's actually got a cluster of these in the same place that we're going to have to break up as we go. But this is the one we're looking for. So I'm going to go back up to permanent, new tag, form. There we go. And we'll drop that there. Okay, so there's that. That's right. That's right. And there's a 3. And this previous one that had extras in it is done for. So let's close up some of this. Okay. And we're still working on the list here. Next thing is in number 4. Right here. I'll grab that. Text paragraph. And same thing. We're going to make this text. We're going to make this text. And we're going to make this text. Like so. And we're going to go through the same process. Okay. Expand it out. There's our number 4. There's occasional, temporary, and regular. And looks like our first one is here. As far as the lines go, change to artifact. Change to artifact. Change to artifact. And we can delete that out now. And as we can see, it's included our form fields right here. These are actually the form fields that go to these 3 questions. So we're going to grab one, and we're just going to grab that form and everything underneath it, and we're going to move it under the first one like that. And for the final 2, we will create new form tags. And this should be the second one. It is under temporary. And the last one should go under regular, and it does. And that looks like the end of the toggles. can see here, all of them are nice and neat in their space. So now we've come to a new section. Note that our list tag has nothing in it anymore. It goes away, and we're going to file save our document. Remember to save frequently. Next up, we're coming down to something that's a bit more of a traditional type of label in front of a field, which we covered in the previous videos. The first one here has a style span under an H4. Spans are usually a indicator. They usually indicate like there's a line, there's some graphic element that it's trying to include in the element. It's not a real big thing. I'm going to pull it out of the style span and I'm going to delete it. The reason I'm doing that is because our text is clear. If it said span in it anywhere, I would probably try to retag it to get just the text without the span label or the span text present in the label. This is an H2 because it's not the title, so we're going to change it from a 4 to a 2. Those of you working at OU campus have probably run into the little conundrums of the heading issue, and the same is true for PDFs and other documents, Word and such. So we got that. I'm going to switch that around because that was a form. It should go after whatever's here. So again, we have a list. And this is the list here. And again, in case I have to do anything special with the reading order, since it's kind of complicated, particularly when you hit number 3 here, 3 and 4, again, have toggles in them. I'm going to go ahead and just make those lines a paragraph. We've got a heading 2 here to indicate the beginning of the section, and we have numbers there too. So I'm going to open that list because things inside it are going to change as I go. And you see, trying to tag around here, I get the hand icon, and I don't really want to work around that. So I'm starting actually from the bottom instead. Get that, change it to text paragraph. And one thing you could do, if you're not afraid that you will confuse yourself as you do it, is you could go down the line like so and switch everything you want to paragraph. Nothing wrong with that. It can be, if you have problems, say with organization, like stuff that jumps up and down the list, and that's very frustrating to you, you may not want to do it because it may involve scrolling up and down and all over the place to find what you just tagged that way. But in terms of organization, if you can do it, some people find that helpful. I know that my teammate Eric likes to isolate most of his items in this sort of way before he gets to switching all of his tags out. We're going to grab this, and we're going to grab this. So now note that that was one giant block of text, and I've split it up so that when we do the form fields, it will go together really easily. And now, just to show, I'm going to go through and find all these paragraph bits that I've cut out and pull them directly out. Another thing when you do it this way is it actually helps with, if you decide to do it this way, it does actually help because you eliminate giant blocks of stuff that exist in the list. So the actual amount of tags you'll have to deal with in the list actually gets smaller. We can see what this form is here. That's for number 2. I know that we had a form here, and there it is. That was actually number 1. And we just dropped number 1 up here. So let's go ahead, move that underneath, because it's just basically running around on its lonesome. This is actually the form for number 2. Drop it in its place. And what we have here, paragraph, that's number 3. And number 3 is a little more complicated because it has toggles in it. Just fine. We just need to find the ones corresponding to the toggles. This is probably an underline. Yep. Change tag to artifact. And probably all of those are that. Here we've got some, those are forms. Yep. Okay. Those are some of the ones we're going to use for there. And here's our option 1. That's our lead in. So I'm going to grab option 1, move it under, and I'm going to open this just to keep a mental note of where I am in the tag structure. I'm going to drop number 2, drop number 3, and I'm going to drop the 4th one. Okay. Now we need to populate them with the proper form elements. And we have these. That's actually the form for the first 2 live there. So I'm going to grab this and move it up to 0.25 and subset it under there. Okay, so that will be that option. The next option goes in the second one. Click there, new tag, form. Grab this, subset it underneath. So this one's done. And this one's done. So we need to find the tags for the last 2. And I'm going to go ahead and close up these 2 since they're completed. We need to find out where the tags are for those. These 3 list tags are all empty, basically. So we can delete those. I don't think there's anything in there anymore. Nope. So I'm going to select these 3, clean house, delete tag. And let's see where our forms are. Now we have to scroll around a bit to see where our other 2 form fields are. And it looks like they're hiding in the list right here. And there is at least 2 of them here. We've got an FLSA status that occurs underneath. So I will go ahead actually and keep that FLSA status because it's pretty easy to remember that it's there for later. And I'll scroll up here, new tag, form, grab the last one, move it underneath. So that takes care of that set of items. Next, we're going to look at the next one here. You can kind of see the way I did that here, how I organized everything in the individual P tags. Just basically do them all. You shift one set of tags up, you go find the other set of tags and you shift them up. Or you can just go through and do them one at a time. It's really up to you, whichever you find easier. Some people like the organization of moving all the same tags. Some people like to build it intricately for each structure separately because they feel like they're more organized in doing it. And I've done it both ways. Both are valid. Next up, we need to do this one here. And I'm going to grab this text paragraph. And we've got exempt, and I can just squeeze in there and grab it. And non-exempt, same thing. Just squeeze in there and grab it. Okay. They're all probably down here. Yep. And they're living in here. Here's our first one. And that paragraph tag actually comes after this one. So I'm going to close that. If you don't close that, if you try to put that under there in here, it's going to try to subset it. So you don't want to do that. You want to close whatever it's going to be actually underneath in the structure and drop it like that. Okay. So we've got FLSA status, And the next two paragraph tags are probably the next two words. Yep, exempt goes here. And non-exempt will go here. Let's expand all that out. We don't need the for expanded. We have the exempt, and we know that one of the FLSA statuses is up here. That looks like the exempt one. So let's grab that. New tag, form. I'm going to grab that exempt. I'm going to pull it down right under there. It leaves us with the non-exempt defined. That completes out this. That completes out this. I think we're done with this. Yeah, the exempt one, which leaves us just with the non-exempt. So let's find that. It lives in here somewhere. Probably this. It is. And move that form up under there. And note we've got some lines. And we can go ahead and artifact those. Brings us to our next selection here. And we're basically going to continue with the same form throughout. I'm going to clean house a little bit, delete out these two empty tags. Bye-bye to them. We've got a form element here. And it's dropped the form element note in front of the word. That happens. So as we go, we'll be setting it in the right order. And let's pull this up a little bit. Okay. So this will be a little bit less confusing than the toggle switches will be. We'll grab that, text paragraph, next one. And we'll just go through the line and do these. This paragraph. Possibility that you can hear my dog snoring because my dogs are taking naps. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon, and they're big old dogs, so sometimes they can get pretty loud when they're snoring. So if you can hear a dog snoring and it's bugging you, I offer my apologies. Okay, so we've got all of that. It's all paragraphed out. So let's start finding them here. That's where we want to go. We want that department. And we want to see, yes, okay. So I'm going to drop department here. And we've got leader. Note that it sort of drops them wherever. This is the form actually for department, which is convenient. We'll just drop that right under there. So our next one is in number 6. Now we've got the form, but we don't have the text. But there it is right there. See how it kind of strangely reversed that. But it's not a big thing. Just grab it, move it up. You may do that throughout the entire series. And it is what it is if it did. We got a line there. Changed artifact. And that disappears. Yeah, note some of those things that like are popping out on the edge. Those aren't related to the form fields. Those are related to the line. And they'll disappear as we go through the process. So that gives us 3 empty tags here that we can delete. Keeping things all nice and clean. Got a new paragraph here. A style span. Style span is a line. What do we do with lines? We change them to artifact. And then we get rid of that tag. We've got a form here, and it has actually 2 items under it instead of 1. It has 7 and 8, and they're in reversed order. I'm going to go ahead and grab form and move it here since it contains the 7. And when we get to 8, we will move that up the other way. Under here, that should be number 8. So let's go ahead and close this. Bring this up. I'm going to reopen the 7 so we have access to the 7-8. Right click on 8, new tag, form, and grab 8 here. Move it into its new home. So there's 7 and there's 8. There's a line. Last one of those, going to eliminate there. And here's our form for 9, which means we're probably, yep, there's the paragraph for 9. Let's expand it. Have to have it expanded to drop the form tag in it. There we go. There's 9. And this should be the last one here. And let's actually look at something here. Yep, 10 is actually already there. So all we need to do, if I remember right, yep, is we just need to grab these 2 tags. And we'll move them up under here. Open that up. Grab the form, subset it under the 10. And there we go. And our list now should be completely empty, and we're good to delete it. Now we're on our next heading. That should be a heading 2, so make sure there's no spans. There is the span, but the text is clean, so I'll move that outside of the span, delete the span, change this to heading 2. That's good. Have a paragraph, make sure no spans there. And we have remote work arrangement review date, and it looks like it's already properly constructed. Yes. Okay. Close that up. And we have just remediated the entirety, tag-wise anyway, of page 1. So we're going to close up the tag. You notice how the page is sort of creeping along in a strange way. That's because the reading order tool's open and I shifted the mouse. Sometimes when you do that, it will sort of roll the screen like that. And while it's rolling the screen, it won't let you do anything else. So you get to the habit of trying to do that as little as possible. Okay, here we go. I'm going to save now. And we're ready to move on to page 2. So page 2, we have a table starting out. And like I did earlier, I called out an H2, and it is. And here's our table. So tables are constructed a very specific way. You will have a table tag. Under the table tag, you will have TR tags, which are table row. Inside the table row tags, you will have TH or TD. TH stands for table header. TD stands for table data. Table header is the basically what it says in the tin. It is the sort of indicator, the bold, the center of the map, so to speak. It is the indicator of the overall topic of the column or row. In this case, we have a table header row. So this first row right here is a table header row, and the screen reader will read the table from left to right. So it will, whatever this says, because I have that open, but something week, work hours, work location. Probably this says work week. And then the user will know this is across. Now, the form fields are in column 2 and 3, and the days of the week are in the far left column. The days of the week can also be considered heading cells because they are as well indicators. And as we look here through the table structure, we can see that that is exactly what the system has done. That is a good thing. We're not going to change that. We like that just the way it is. Now, one thing with tables is that people tend to try to construct them in fairly clever ways, usually trying to save space or condense information into a smaller area. They'll do things like, for example, you'll have a table like this, and then they might have like a header that has only 2 or 1 cell in it, and then kick off the rest, another section of the table that has 3 cells a row. That violates what's known as table regularity. Table regularity basically states in a PDF or a document that all tables have to have the same number of cells per row and the same number of cells per column. If a table is not regular, it will cause what's called a table regularity issue. A lot of times, like say, if the header had only 2 data cells, but for whatever reason had 3 cells per row, that would generate a table regularity error. The usual workaround for table regularity error is to go into the row that doesn't have as many cells in it and simply add a blank cell somewhere in there. That will usually fix the regularity error, but be warned, if you do that, it may read it to the user as blank. So like if there was 4 and you only had 3 here and you added a blank cell at the end, it would be like work week, work hours, work location, blank, Monday, and you get kind of the picture there. So that's not the most ideal answer, but it is something that will fix it if it gets a regularity error. In terms of things like tables that go down and you have another header row, and then a thing, you're really, really best to split those kind of things into their own tables instead of make a giant table that's multi-section. You'll have a lot easier time with it in remediation than you would the other way. So now we're going to look at this table, and it should actually be good. Acrobat Pro DC has gotten really, really smart about how it constructs its tables. So we're going to look here. That's our header row. That looks good. Okay, row 1. Table header is the day of the week. And we've got our form. Yep, that's good. And assuming that it continues that pattern throughout, and it sure seems to. Sample when it's lower in. This table's good to go, so long as it continued with the right pattern. So we really don't have to do anything this table. This table's good. You will run into tables sometimes that cause problems for you. They're not all as simple or taken care of as a system as this one is. So we get a bit of a lucky break with this, and this is probably something that is worth remembering, that this construction of table, the system understood implicitly. So we're good on that. We have a paragraph underneath with a form field, and looks like it handled that fine. Next is the same sort of thing. And it did that, but it also says it has a figure in there. Ah, here we go. Path. So what has probably happened here, if I close this, is, yep, you see here, there's a very slight border on the box here. This seems to have a little bit more substantial border. So what the system did is it tried to recognize that as an image of some form. It understands that the text box is there, but it also understands that there's a box there, and we really don't need the box. So we're going to click the path. We're going to change it to artifact, and it's going to go away. Because if we don't do that, we're going to have to alt text it to avoid an accessibility error. Let's delete that tag out. Okay, that's nice and clean now. Close these up. Identify any information. Let's go ahead and reopen our readingware. Looks like that one's good. And we're going to go down here. Looks like page 2 didn't require much anything. And it probably looks like it would be the more complicated of the two because it has a table in it. But because tables are understood so well, if they're properly constructed in the source document that you're exporting from, it didn't have any issue at all. And it just took us a couple of minutes to zip through that. So we're going to close that. We're going to save our file. And we're going to go on to the next page. So over here, page 3, here's our first heading. That's an H2, like we set it up as earlier. And we got a paragraph tag and a style span for a link. So the style span for the link there is because the link is occurring inside the paragraph, so to speak. It doesn't really need the style span, but in this case, what the style span is doing is it's indicating a connector between one part of the paragraph and another part of the paragraph. It's basically going, this is the early part of the paragraph. It connects at this link that they can click on, and then the rest of the paragraph will occur underneath it. So I really don't want to change that for the moment. This is the text that is highlighted as the link. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave this paragraph alone. And if it causes an accessibility error for whatever reason, which they can sometimes, they can be iffy, or if it causes a reading order issue, we'll deal with it then. So we're just going to leave that alone. Next is a perfectly clean paragraph, and next we've got another table. So this table doesn't have a header row for column 1, or I should say a header column in column 1. It does have what looks like a normal header row, which is good. It just basically has its spaces. And since it doesn't have that header, this is why our tooltip writing is very, very important, because it's going to tell people exactly what to put in the cells as they go along and fill it out. So let's have a look here. Table row 1, this should be all headers. It is, that's good. And so the rest of these rows should be our forms. It's always good to remember with fields that don't start with introductory text of any kind, that if it doesn't have introductory text, the tooltip is going to be very, very crucial in helping your user know what to put in that field. And it looks like we've got another good table here. Yep. So we can close up that table, is done. Next, we have another paragraph. And it is another paragraph with a form response. It's already properly constructed. Page 3 is done. We didn't even change anything, so we can't even save it. Pretty simple. Now we're going to go to page 4. Page 4, we've got our heading 2, and we've got another table. And like the first table, we have a header row and a header column. And judging from here, it looks like it constructed it pretty well. Yep. And I'm betting we have no issue here. There's our heading cell. It's going to be one of those, should be one of those for all 3. Yep. It's always a good idea. Even if you think that that ProDC did your table all right, to go ahead and expand it out and have a look. Yep. Got another good table here. Next, we go down here. We're in the signature section. And we want basically this followed by this. And as we can see, there's no 15. 15 is over there. That may be an issue we have to deal with in the reading order later. But for the moment, we're going to organize the tags right. So employee signature doesn't really have to be a heading. It can be, or it doesn't have to be. Sometimes you end up in situations where it's very difficult to follow the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 type of construction. In those situations, they have actually a tag that's just heading with no number value on it. That could be used. And I'm talking about situations, occasionally you'll get, say, a document where they actually didn't give it a title for the whole thing. It's just a series of chapters or something, so it becomes very difficult to use a heading 1 in it. You could use heading throughout, and heading can take the place. And in this case, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'll call this heading level 3. Okay, so there's our employee signature, and we want to follow that up with the signature box. There it is. It's hiding under date. Move that up. Here's date. And this would be the employee signature date. If you remember, we alt texted it as that. That's good. That's good. And we should probably leave date as paragraph because it's actually a subset of employee signature. And now we'll go to leader signature, and we're going to switch that to heading 2 or heading 3. We want it to be consistent with the one above it. Leader signature. And in this case, it is all in the right place, which is good. Here's our date. We're going to leave that regular paragraph since technically it's kind of a subset of this. And that's good as well. So these are all nice and taken care of. Leaves us with 2 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 after that, and paragraph 2. No spans or anything odd there. That is the end of page 4. Save our document, and we have just completed working in the tags for the entire document. So we're going to take a break now, and in the next video, we're going to go through reading order and finish this document out. Thank you.